ayuda a la conexión. Hi, Alma. Hi, Professor. Wait a second, I think I cannot hear you. So, can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, Fadi, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Great, awesome. I hear you really well. I was also broadcasting in Professor Ferni's channel in YouTube right now. He's there. He couldn't connect right now, but he will be hearing you.
Okay.
But he cannot open the video right now, but he's connected and hearing our talk. So thank you for your time. If you want to try to project to see that everything is working for you.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, let me make you co-host right now. Hi, Camila. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Oh, then let me see something because Professor Fernie is the host right now.
Yes.
Wow. Mhm. Let me try. I'm gonna leave and enter again so I can remove him from the host, even though that he will be always co-hosting.
Okay.
Okay, let me try. Okay,
Sounds good.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Great, Fadi, can you try to please share your screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you see it?
It's coming soon. It says I have started, but it's coming soon.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I believe it's not coming out. No yet, Fadi. So can you please stop doing it and start again?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Let me just get out of the other Zoom meeting. Great. Now I see it. Awesome. Thank you. We
Perfect.
see it really well. Okay. Let's just wait for the people.
Okay.
Great. So now we're just going to wait for the students to join, and I'm gonna introduce you a file 5, and then we're going to start. I'm gonna be in the background helping you with the chat and the questions.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, Alma.
No, my pleasure. Thanks to you for giving us your time. It's really important for us. Thank you.
tú pruebas y me
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Let me just start recording here.
Hi, Alma.
So good afternoon and welcome once more to the PPCR talk of this week. And we're really honored to have today Fari Saleh Velez, a great doctor and a great ambassador of PPCR. He actually was a research fellow in Professor Fregni's lab. He was committed to make the lab work and make improvement there. He worked in many amazing projects and NIH grants. He also was one of the mentors for the new fellows at the lab. In addition, he worked in many great publications. And after that, they started his neurology residency here in US. And now we're really happy to see him, how he has grown over the years. And he's currently an assistant professor of neurology at the University of Oklahoma. He's also an IMG doctor from Colombia, which is a great pride for all of us here, all the IMGs who strive to pursue a career here in US. And that's why many of the actually PPCR students right now, we're asking for who can we connect and look for that could present something to guide them in this challenging process as is the neurology residency. So Fari, welcome once more, and we're really happy and honored to have you today. Thank you for your time. We know you're really busy working on all these great projects, and he's also connected with one of our senior TAs, part of the family. She's also connected here, that is Camila Bonin. Both of them have shown a great advancement in their careers, and that's something that we pursue and try to help with all the students and past students in the PPCR community. So thank you, and I'll be here in the background, but I'm going to help you. So you may begin.
Perfect. Thanks, Alma, for the nice introduction. And it's a pleasure for me to come here. And as I always said, and for the people that join us, PPCR and Professor Fregni and the team changed my life. So this is just very little ways to give back to so many things that I have received from the mentorship, from all the learning and knowledge that I got from the program from PPCR and from participating in the Neuromodulation Center. So the idea of this lecture is that we're just going to talk a little bit about my research experience and how this kind of like make me go into residency and help me involved in my career here. So the most important thing that I wanted to say here basically is I don't have any, the slides are working. I don't think they are moving for me, sorry.
Now they're moving.
Perfect, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
So I just wanted to say I don't have anything to disclose, but basically this lecture is going to be about my research experience. So you're going to hear a lot about me, might get a little bit tiring, but I just want to show you how the lab, how PPCR shaped my career and helped me get to where I am right now. So to begin with, I just want to kind of shift a little bit of focus because I'm a neurologist, I'm a vascular neurologist, and I wanted to show you if this is possible, if coming from another country like Colombia in South America, that is a small country, if this is possible to compete with so many great American students and so many people that from around the world that are applying and that want to become a neurologist. So this first slide, I just want you guys, we're not so many here, so this is important that you know that there is a lot trying to do this. It's about 5,000 of Americans that actually go outside of the United States to train in medicine, but there is 7,800 or more in average that are non-Americans that train medicine outside of the United States and that apply for residency match yearly. This is the data from 2022, but every year is very similar compared to the med students. This is the time where they apply here, is when they are in third and fourth year of med school. So it is possible, and you guys are not alone. And you're gonna see here that there is so many applicants every single year that the more the time passes and the year passes, the number of available positions increase. We come from 2019, 2017 when I applied, and you can see that now it's already 846 positions specifically for neurology. I know everyone here is not looking for neurology in particular, but you can see here that there is an exponential growth on available programs. And the same goes regarding the applicants that match. You can see that there were 846 positions. They filled them almost all, only 3 positions were unfilled. But this is just to tell you, it's not that there is not enough people, it's just some programs did not find candidates that were fitting the criteria that they were looking. So there were still 3 spots empty despite having way more applicants. There is about 1.7 applicants per position. So there is always people that cannot match. But you can see, and I want to focus in this area, is how many of the US and non-US IMGs like us that match successfully in this past year. So it's not a small number when you compare, but you can see that most of the positions are always filled by med students from here and DO students from here. And similarly here, I just want to show you it's the same growth and how this is particularly for foreign trained, so US IMGs and non-US IMGs, how many of them has filled the positions. So you see the 226, these include US and non-US, but through the years, it's a similar number. So it's kind of a trend that has maintained, and programs like internal medicine, family medicine, emergency medicine, and pediatrics are the ones that have more international graduates participating. And this is what I was talking recently. This shows how many programs. In an ideal world, we would want 1 program, 1 applicant, but this is not the case. Everything is above the 1 because there are more applicants per positions. And then when we see neurology, particularly, you see that most of the positions get filled by med students from United States, and lots of them get filled by non-US IMGs. So there is US IMGs are also matched, but we are a big group here in neurology. And as you compare, there are other specialties like vascular surgery or plastic surgery that really have way too many applicants for so little spots that are available. And then something that is important that I like to share from my experience for you guys is that we tend to look for programs that are IMG friendly. And usually when you look for the reports, this is actual reports from ECFMG, you always come the same names: New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, New Jersey, Texas. And we tend to bias and think this is the places that we only have chances. But remember that the way that they are presenting these numbers is very different how you should interpret them. This is just the number of people in each place. But as you can imagine, and we're going to see for the example of neurology, you would think that Texas, New York, Michigan, and Florida are the places to go. These are ranked as the 4 top IMG friendly locations to do residency. But this is the number of programs that there are there. When you look actually percentage of applicants per program, none of these programs appear there, only Texas. But most of the programs that are really IMG friendly are these ones in Mississippi, Arkansas, New Jersey, North Dakota, Louisiana, and so on. And I come to see this when I came to work in Oklahoma that would never appear as an IMG friendly in any of the lists. And half of my residents are IMGs. It's because of this. There's only 1 program for neurology in the whole state. It's the University of Oklahoma. And there is only 6 spots in the past. Now we have 8 spots. And half of them are always filled by IMGs. So it's very extremely IMG friendly. But this is not the case. When we look at this list, everyone thinks that Texas, New York, Michigan are the answer. So I want you to look and understand that each program has a different number of positions, and there are so many programs in different places. So this is very important, and this is why we're going to focus a little bit more on the talk, because when I came here, I did not have anyone to give me a talk like this. I did not have anyone to guide me. I tried to explore this different ways, but this is the statistics that the ECFMG shows every time of who matches and who is not matching. So when you see here, particularly because the scores is what make everything afraid and everyone focus on the scores, you see the scores for the US IMGs, and we're just going to compare IMGs now on this data, around 222 and 233 for the step 1. And when you look, when you're not a non-US IMG, the scores are higher. So they're already looking that you have a higher threshold. But the most important about this, what I want to show you, is the people that did not match are even higher average scores than the ones that match. So there's very many factors and challenges that we as IMGs have to overcome with all of this. So other things that are important here, and that's why we're going to start making some emphasis on why Ppcr, it's very important for your future, is if you look at here, the number of research experiences between the match IMGs from US and non-match, there is a big difference. It's almost double more than that, the publications and the abstracts and the presentations that a non-US IMG needs in order to be on the ones that match. But if you see here, the ones that did not match were not shy on the number of publications. So what I want you to understand that it's not just publishing and being in so many papers, just have your name there, is what you do in the background, how all this becomes like your entire life becomes an example of what you are doing. So the same goes for work experiences and volunteer experiences. So because I'm giving this talk and I want you to know a little bit about me and why I think I can tell you some advice about this, I just wanted to show you a little bit of my background. So as Alma said, I was born in Colombia and I trained in my med school there at the Universidad del Rosario in Bogota. And then I did my internship, part of it in Barcelona, because my university had a collaboration with the Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, and I wanted to learn about brain stimulation. So that was my first step with neuromodulation. I went to Spain and did part of my internship there and rotating in neurology. I went back to Colombia and did my obligatory social service that you have to do in order to get your medical license in Colombia. And I work at the small hospital of San Vicente de Paul. We were 2 physicians for 20,000 people. After that, I was sure I wanted to come to US, so I needed to focus on the steps. So I went to Kaplan and I did the courses of Kaplan Medical in order to get a visa. And I took all my steps. And then I applied to Professor Fregney lab. And this is the first, and I say the step that changed my life. In many ways, this is how I got to know Ppcr and learn from it and shape my career. And as you see in the next slides, how many things changed from me from just getting involved with Ppcr and working and collaborating with the Neuromodulation Center and Professor Fregney and the team there. But after that, after almost 3 years there, I applied and I matched at the University of Chicago, which was my first choice for neurology residency. And after completing, I did a fellowship in vascular neurology at the University of Miami. And right now, I am doing my waiver. Some of you might know, but when you come here and train in residency, we get J visas. These are visas that are created in order to come to US, train, and go back to your country. So in some cases, like mine, that I wanted to stay in the United States and continue my career here, you have to find a place that sponsors you a waiver. You work in an area that is underserved, that requires the specialty that you have, and provides you the way to become a green card holder and then a citizen. So if anyone has questions about that, we can also chat, because the waiver is what I'm doing here right now at the University of Oklahoma. But then going more into detail on why I think that Ppcr changed my career, I want to show you now that I'm in this side and I'm the one recruiting residents. These are the things that we look for in the people. It's basically, do you really have interest in neurology? Neurology is not a field that everyone just gets in love and wants it for life. You really have to like neurology. We have very high dropout rates on residency of people that starts and then don't like it because it's very different to other specialties. So we really want to know that there is some interest and that the background shows that the applicant wants to do it and is sure about it. Then we look about academic performance, and this goes along the way with grades on med school, regardless of the country. Your personal statement, how many volunteers opportunities is a big thing here in the United States. Leadership roles during the career, your letters of recommendation, any excellent and diversity things that bring kind of like different profiles into the program, why you're going to excel in this program, what have you done in your career, which awards you have. And then, of course, hobbies, because we know, and as you see, all this timeline just shows hospitals and hospitals, right? But this is not the reality. Through all these years, we went through COVID, we went through different stages. I got married, I had a baby. So all these things happen while we are focusing on our career. So we want to know that people have hobbies, that have balances in life. It's not just about medicine residency and things like this. So going more into detail, and this is now showing how I prepare, and I'm gonna go specifically in how Ppcr and the Neuromodulation Center shaped my career into what I am now, and how this helped me into getting in residency and fellowship and getting the position that I am now, and also getting grant funding in order to start my research team. So from the beginning, I had little experience. I never had a talk like this. So I just went to med school, and the only thing I could do was neurology rotations. I knew I wanted to do neurology, so I did this rotation, but nothing in particular. And then I came my interest about brain stimulation. So I think that was something meaningful. And I found a rotation elsewhere, could have been in the United States, but at that time I did not have the steps. And many of the requirements to come here in rotate requires you steps at sometimes, unless you do some observership. So there are ways around it. So I went to Spain, did my brain stimulation rotation there for 3 months. Then I returned to Colombia, and I wanted to come here, and I know, and I've been in the position that many of you guys are. It's not easy, it's not cheap. So I work in Colombia in order to save money to be able to come and pay for the steps. The steps are not easy, are not cheap. So one thing that I wanted to emphasize, because I don't want to go in details about steps, that's a very big lecture, but what I did, and I advise this to everyone, is I focus on my steps. Even before starting Ppcr and working with the lab, it was just completing all the steps, because I knew these were relevant. Failing steps is a big red flag. So I'm not saying that with a failed step, you're not going to match, but it's difficult. There are some programs that do not interview any applicant that has a failed step. So passing a step is very important. So focusing on them and completing them is very relevant. And right now, there's no more step 2 CS because of COVID that was canceled. So it's pathways that show you proficiency in English. So what I would recommend is to get done with the steps. Right now, step 1 doesn't even have a score. It's just a pass or fail. So it shows how the next parts of life and career are going to differentiate you, because you no longer can get a 270 and be better than an applicant from here. Now everyone is pass and fail. So you have to show the rest with your CV and the things that you've done, how you are a strong applicant. So when I got and started Ppcr and my work at the lab, I got involved with research experience. I learned the basics. I had not done any research. My CV, imagine this background as my CV, and I had no publications before, no presentations. Colombia was not very strong at the time on research, and still they have challenges. So this was my first part, and I get to network, I get to meet people, and through it, I got clinical experience in the US, which is very important. It's not easy to get clinical experience, but there are ways, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I got to publish multiple times with the guidance of Professor Fregni and the team. I got to do a lot of voluntary work and present in multiple conferences. And I also met my wife, who is now my wife. She was doing her PhD there. We have some pictures in the next slides so you can see. But this is what I want to show you is things are happening and you have plans, and life is always going with you. So you want to have a balance with all of this. So I was able to do all of this and succeed. So everyone can, because as I show you before Ppcr, before the lab, I had much nothing on my CV. Then I matched into residency. And what is important about this is this was just the beginning of everything. I continue to collaborate with the lab, with Professor Fregni and with Ppcr and the group. We continue publishing. I start establishing myself as a leader in the field, applying to programs with the American Academy of Neurology, with the Society of Vascular Interventional Neurology, American Heart Association, the Work Stroke Organization. And I'm going to show you examples of my life. And for you to look, you might not want to do neurology, you might do surgery or different things. There are opportunities for everything. This is just examples on neurology, but you will see that there are many, many chances for other things. And then the same happened when I did my fellowship. Then it was just expanding my networks. I got to get new mentors related to vascular neurology and what I was doing, and continue just that work. I was just connecting different mentors and different projects and making them bigger. And right now, as a vascular neurology attending, it's just a consolidation of everything. The work just has started, and it's just continuing this, leading. I have been selected, despite being only 1 year in this position, as the Associate Program Director of the Fellowship. And then with this, you can just recruit more people, engage more applicants in the project and in research through the same way that I did it. So going more in detail on how to tackle those areas that I told you about the application, this is very simple stuff that I didn't know. So I want to share this with you. Interest in neurology, there are multiple ways. The ways that I did it was working, being in Ppcr, but working at the same time with the Neuromodulation Center, which showed my interest in neurology, right? But if you are in med school, if you don't have access to this thing, there is always the student interest group in neurology. Almost every university has them, and there are associated groups with the American Academy of Neurology. There are rotations, observerships. You can reach out. Nowadays, with COVID, Twitter and all these sites became so popular, so you can reach out to people there and find opportunities. Then there is the academic performance. And this is where Ppcr changed my career, because it made me excel compared to other applicants, even the ones that were from United States. It's because it allowed me to learn research from every single step, publish, show abstract, conference. All these things is what we look in a CV when we look for an applicant. Then the personal statement, and I want to give some tips about it. And this is not a repetition of your application of your CV. When you see this is already kind of like a bad sign, because we want to know about you. We want to hear why you want to do neurology. What are your long-term goals? This is what shows you, because with your CV, we have it. Then there is volunteers opportunities like going in brigades, community work, association, and all of these have a nice program. We're going to show you a little bit about the Angels program and the Al-Attack program in South America for stroke, and shows you that these are available things that are free, and it's just look around and apply for them and get involved. Then there are the grades and med school transcript and the steps, and this is what is changing. The IMGs were having such a high scores that it was hard to accommodate this. So recently there was a change in pass-fail, and now there's no more score. So you cannot just study and get a good step and then you are in. It's now about the overall candidate. Then there is leadership, and leadership position. There's many. You can be the president of your class in med school. You can be the president of the SIGN initiative of your university, and so on. And there are programs from American Academy of Neurology. You don't have to be a neurologist for them. Same for the stroke, World Stroke Association, and so on. Then the letter of recommendation, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit in detail when I talk about my mentors, but they need to be personalized. They cannot be general template letters, and this happens all the time. Here, some people pay thousands of dollars to get a letter of recommendation, and they're very simple letters that really harm you more than giving you a benefit. And then there is excellent and any awards that you get throughout your career, and Ppcr is ways to do. You can get best projects on it. You can present in your conference. You can publish on it. So this makes you excel when compared to others. And then there are the hobbies. But this is a point that is very relevant. I want to show you is soccer, reading, hiking. Yeah, this might be your hobbies, but everyone writes that. So if you're going to add hobbies, you have to be a little bit more specific on why soccer is your hobby. You like to sit on a couch and watch it. It's not really your hobby, right? But you won a championship, you participate in soccer. You don't have to win everything, but you have to participate and show differences on it. This is what makes you stand out. So going a little bit more in detail on Ppcr, and because this is, I think, the point that changed my career, I want to show you how the many components, and I don't want to go into specific because many of you are already on it and have you done it. But first, beginning with the research, I had no basic knowledge, and it starts with the module, the basic research module, the statistical method module, the data management and study design has taught me everything I needed in order to apply for grant funding, which has been successful, and also to develop my own trials throughout my residency and throughout my fellowship. So it's not something that is common. So when we get into residency and fellowship, and I compare myself with my co-residents and colleagues, I had an extra skill that I got thanks to Ppcr and thanks to the lab. and that they didn't have, because there's not a lot of training anywhere about proper research. And this is what is so important about what PPCR brings you. And then there is the mentorship, and we're going to see a slide about how that impacted my life. But it's not only mentorship in terms of guiding you in research, but it's life collaboration and networking. And I can now say it's been almost 8 years since I know Professor Fregni, and he has been my mentor since day one. And I'm very thankful for everything that has done for me, but this keeps continuing. So it's not just a year that you get involved in PPCR, this brings you changes in your life. Then an important point for me is the statistics part from PPCR is it really gives you an extra skill that you don't get in other programs that are available. And this has allowed me to design my trials, not depend on anyone. An example of this is when I moved to do my fellowship in the University of Miami. They have this large registry, the Florida Stroke Registry, and they do have a lot of hired statisticians. So they will run the statistics for me. But a big part of it is that they wouldn't know what to run. So learning and understanding and needing me to tell them what they have to run, it was important, and I got it thanks to what I learned with PPCR. So it's not just about learning how to do it, it's why to do it, when to do it, which test I'm going to use, and which method to use. Then there's the opportunity to get involved after PPCR with being a TA. So this gives you more volunteer experience to your life. It's very prestigious to be a TA from PPCR, and then this makes you excel from others. And then besides, you get to publish, because some of the goals of PPCR is that you get some publications out. So this is not common, and this is why it changed my career, it changed my CV, but it also changed the way I shape my future since then. And then I want to give you a little bit of my experience with my postdoctoral research fellowship at the Neuromodulation Center from Professor Fregni. This was at the same time with PPCR, and it was the time to apply the things that I learned. So it was not just on the paper, but I was able to design clinical trials, get involved in large projects. But you also learn about grant writing. And then at that time, you might think, hey, it's so young and so many time to when I'm going to write a grant. But I was writing my first application when I was in residency. And I got funded to go to Milan and present my neuromodulation project in Milan, all because I knew and I learned from it how to do these things. I got to publish meaningful research. It's not just publishing. And a problem that I have seen now that I'm in this side and I get applicants is I am now getting applicants with 50 publications. And when I go to look at the publications, they are, I don't know, 19, 20 authors on a publication. There's people from everywhere. There is always little reviews about, an example would be hemorrhagic fever in Congo. And then I have someone applying to neurology, but has 17 papers on hemorrhagic fever in Congo. So it's not about quantity. Something that Professor Fregni always told me is about the quality. Do I want my name in this paper? Is it meaningful what I'm going to say? So this is something very important. It's not about just being there, it's why you are there. Then I got to meet my mentors. I'm going to see a little bit about them. Collaborators. There was emphasis in neurology is what I wanted to do. And this is where I got my letters of recommendation, and I was able to volunteer. So an example of this is part of the projects that I worked there was on phantom limb pain on amputees, and we needed to recruit subjects. So a way to volunteer was we reach out to multiple groups of amputees, support groups where they were express their feelings. So we went there and gave them talks about the different treatments, and that way we were able to recruit patients, but also we volunteer because they need to hear it from a physician. They want to know there are opportunities, they are suffering. So this is ways to get involved in many aspects. So from the mentorship part, specifically about the lab, and this is something I want to emphasize, Professor Fregni has been my mentor through all this time and has supported me on everything and guided me and opened me to many other options. So an example of here, and it's Professor Crandell. He is actually a PM&R physician at Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital. So he's not a neurologist. So everyone has this focus that I need 3 letters from a neurologist and 3 neurologists that says I'm good in clinical neurology. So I met Dr. Crandell through the phantom limb pain project. He is the director of the amputee clinic at Spalding, and he worked with many of the amputees from the bombing in Boston. And I started working with him on recruitment, and I asked him if I could go to his clinic on a weekly basis and see the patients with him. And throughout that, we built a relationship that lasted almost 2.5 years of me going to the clinic, helping the projects by recruiting. But he got to know me personally. He got to know my work, got to know my skills, and he was able to write. You cannot see most of the letters, but I got very nice comments about his letter and how high was he on me regarding the work that I did. So it's more important to have this type of letters, 2.5 years working with someone, getting involved, than having a neurologist that you rotated 2 weeks and that you just met. Similarly, here is Dr. Lotfi. He also part of one of the projects that we had in the lab. He works with ophthalmology and his visual imaging lab, but we had a project on fMRI with him, and it was same. He was my other recommendation letter, and he wrote a letter because I worked with him for almost 3 years on this project, and he was able to show different skills. We don't want to know that you are a great neurologist because you are applying to neurology, but we want to know that you are a person that has goals and that are committed, and these are the things that matter. The things that matter that he can write in a letter that I was in his lab until 11 p.m. working on fixing an issue with the fMRI protocol, than that I went early to a neurology rotation. And my third letter, of course, was Professor Fregni, which was also, I was praised a lot for his letter, and it shows just the commitment and the relationship that we got to build through the time in the lab. And not only at that time, but when I applied to my fellowship, it was almost 4 years after finishing Ppcr and finishing my time at the lab. My letter was again from Professor Fregni, because I continued to work with him, and we built this collaboration and this mentorship relationship that it's more relevant in a letter than, again, 1 month rotation during my residency. And similarly, here I have examples of Dr. Maswi, Leslie Maswi and Tabel Maswi. They're actually married. I got to meet first Dr. Maswi in the clinic for, again, projects related to stroke. And then after working with her for 2 years, she just asked me about some of my interests in the future. And I got to know that her husband was actually an interventional neurologist at Mass General. And then she introduced me with him. And I started working with him for the last, it's been already 5 years. So this is how you build mentorship relationships. Through my residency, actually from University of Chicago, I went back to Boston and rotated with him for 2 months. And he also has helped me through my career. He's now the chairman of neurology in Seattle. So these things, these relationships are the things that you have to build through time. And here below, you actually see my clinical mentors from the chairman at the University of Chicago, Dr. Prabhakaran. He's a stroke doctor, and he helped me through my residency. Professor Lazaridis also, that is actually a neuro ICU specialist, but I work in project with neuromonitoring with him. So it's about evolving your skills and involving, and how many mentors, how many collaborations you can get to build better projects. And here you can see Dr. Asdagi, Romano, Koch, and Sacco, which were my mentors during my fellowship in stroke neurology, and which I work with them now in multiple projects that I do. And lastly, here I have Dr. Jabluchansky, which is now one of my mentors in research here at OU. And it's helping me to build my research team, working with his geroscience lab and creating the neurovascular modulation lab. That is what I'm going to show you in the next slides. This is very important, and I just want to make emphasis is I want to see in the future of you guys is a slide like this. Collaboration should be a tons of people. This becomes friend, becomes colleagues for life. This is from different places throughout your life, but this is what you have to aim and goal. Your goal should be towards having a very broad collaboration networks. So I just want to show a little bit of my career and how I got to meet all these nice people. So many of them are from the Neuromodulation Center, as you can see here. Here's my wife, which I met while she was doing her PhD at the Neuromodulation Center, and now she's been with me, and we work together all the time. This is one of the presentations of the awards that I won, and took me to Milan to present my project with TDCAs for autonomic nervous dysfunction. So this was my initial collaboration network, but then it gets expanding to points that I could not imagine right now. After becoming a vascular neurologist, I get to know this beautiful initiative in South America called the Alianza Joven for Latin America against the ACV, that is a stroke, basically. And this is a group of young vascular neurologists that got together and realized there was so much lack of care in Latin America, and created this group that started with 7 and expanded. Here there is a picture of the current president showing that there were 41 in the 22, and right now we are 100 around Latin America, and we have some in USA and Spain, basically all with the same goal. It's about research collaboration and expanding networks to help populations that are in despair, like the ones in South America. But then I wanted to go beyond that. And this is when I applied to the program of Future Stroke Leaders. And I want to point these things because this happened after my residency, after my fellowship, or during my fellowship. And you should not put a goal on you, a limit on it. You have to put goals, but then those goals have to be changeable. You have to advance. So this is the Future Stroke Leader program from the World Stroke Organization. And basically they just select from around 1,000 applicants, 32 physicians from around the world. So I was selected with this nice group. And when I got there, something that surprised me is not everyone is a vascular neurologist. You don't have to be. You just have to be an advocate for care of neurology and stroke. So these opportunities are for anyone around the world, but you just want to make a change. So there are things available. And then again, expansion network. Right now, I'm collaborating and doing projects around the world. We are opening, we're planning to open a stroke unit in Africa, in Ethiopia, in Tanzania, and we are also working with tele-rehab projects in Asia and collaboration with Latin America and the US. So these are the things that I learned thanks to Ppcr, thanks to Professor Fregni, seeing him how he expanded his collaboration throughout the years, how many collaborations, how many projects he had around the world. So it's not only about learning the basics about research, but also shaping your life and your career to your mentors. And this is now the neurovascular modulation research team that we have here at OU. This is the equipment that we got thanks to the funding, the grant that I wrote with my wife. We were funded, we were able to purchase our own devices, and we are starting our research project again, continuing the collaboration with Professor Fregni and the neuromodulation lab. And then I wanted to show you this almost when we are finishing, to tell you what are the things that I could have done better for you guys that are starting your careers. And the answer is always yes. There was this empty hole on, I would say, my career that you got filled with so many options, so many opportunities, getting involved more. There's so many things that no one told me I could done. I always thought I need to be an ECFMG certified, be a resident, have everything already to be able to get involved, but it's not the case. You can publish already, you are already, many of you are either interested in being in Ppcr or participating in Ppcr, so you already have ways. It's not about just the network that you see of the mentors, right? Your other colleagues that are taking Ppcr with you, they already can be a neurologist, a vascular neurologist, a surgeon. There's anyone. The course is so good that there's so many people at different stages in their career taking the course that you can find mentors and collaboration, even in your peers sitting next to you in the class. So are there things beyond residency? Because I know this is a heterogeneous group, so there are other options. I am a neurologist already, or I'm already a specialist elsewhere. Can I do something in US? Can I come here and do research? And there are opportunities. And one of the questions that I get to ask many times, and that's why I put it in this presentation now, is can I do a fellowship? Am I already a neurologist? I'm already a surgeon? And the answer is mostly yes. You have to find some hospital, but I would say it's the great majority. And the thing that you have to do is have the steps to be certified here and be able to work here, get a limited license. But then it's just letters of recommendation, the statement, and an interview, and you can do it, and then you return to your country. Only if you want to stay here, then you have to follow the regular pathway and take all the steps to be able to stay. So we take fellows at the University of Oklahoma that just come to get trained and go back to the country. And this is part of the work that I've been doing to give back to my country, to give back to South America, Latin America, is to train people in order to go back to places in Latin America that don't have training. It's funny and it might look weird because we are here and we are used to these things, but there are countries that do not have such specialties. They don't have the opportunity to train. So these are the opportunities that we're trying to open here for everyone. So more or less about like a summary. So what can I do to have a stronger application? So first, just pass Ppcr, make sure of it. Find mentors. Someone that is interested in your academic growth. This mentorship is a whole topic. We can have a 1-hour lecture about mentors. And then you have to find mentors that are interested in helping your growth, right? There you'll find other different type of mentors. So this is something that you have to look, and you will fail. You will find mentors and then you'll see that this was not what you were looking. Change this. It's good to make these mistakes because you learn from them. Get involved with so many programs. If you want to do neurology, these are all these programs that are elective rotations. Reach out to people, email people, send messages, and you'll find people willing to help everyone. I was helped by many people, so now I like to help people from the same way. Publish, use your experience from Ppcr, from your involvement with the research initiative that they also have, the Neuromodulation Center, to publish, to get involved in abstracts, presentations. But again, ask why my name is there. What did I do? Did I deserve it? Planning things like this. Get to know the people. As I told you, it's better to have a letter of recommendation from someone that is not your specialty, but that shows your interest on the specialty and then shows that they know you. And continue to network. I mean, Ppcr is like a unique opportunity. I don't think you can find a place like this around the world where you can meet so many people from different backgrounds at different stages in their career, and such a great mentors in the lectures and involved in the program. That is just such a great opportunity to just network and start collaborating and working. So this is a little bit of what I wanted to talk, and now I think we can open to some questions, and I want to thank all of you guys for hearing me.
Amazing talk. Thank you again, Fadi, for your time and for this wonderful presentation and showing your past, your challenges. What do you do? How do you apply that advices for all these people connected here? And again, it's wonderful. Your journey is really inspiring. Let me think. I don't see any questions so far. Everybody's quiet. I hope, guys, remember that this space is meant to be informal, that you can talk and ask any questions to our speakers. They are here for you to help you and guide you. You can explain or talk about or make any questions that you would like to do, or any advice that you would like to ask them.
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, Fadi and Alma, and everybody here. My question is, what will make, besides joining those things that you mentioned on your slide, from your perspective, what will make a good candidate for neurology?
Yes, that's actually a great question. And I think one of the main things is joining these groups and these projects won't really change the future, in the sense that, oh yeah, you are good because you are in SIGN, right? Anyone can join SIGN. As a matter of fact, I help now with the student association from my university in Colombia, and they have a lot of people involved on it, but just by name, not many of them are really participating actively. So when you get involved in these different opportunities, kind of like go one step beyond, because the interview process is kind of like very difficult here. It's just an application. We get like 20 pages of application, and it's not enough time to review, because we literally receive 400 applicants for 6 spots, 8 spots. So it's way too many. So you have to find little things that show that difference. So some of those things is, you're a member of SIGN, but you have participated in so many conferences, and presenting your work. You have shown some abstract. You are already collaborating with someone. I don't know if you're not here in the United States, you already established a collaboration with someone. There's students from the university that reach out to me in Colombia to start working, and I do have projects that are beyond interventional projects that can be done online. So get to know people makes it different. We get 400 applicants. So regardless of what they say, there is always recommendation. Someone knows you, someone is going to pick up the phone and give a call and say, hey, this applicant is great because he's a great person. Yes, not everyone can call, like Professor Franklin could not say, hey, Fadi is a great neurologist because I was not a neurologist, but he could say, hey, he has great commitment through the last 3 years here. We have done so many publications. So you can go to a lab, you can go to Ppcr, you can go anything for years, but not be productive. So this is what you don't realize. These are red flags. You can have a CV of 30 papers. That's what I'm telling you. We get a CV with 30 papers and we match the one that had 2 papers because those 2 papers were first author and were in neurology, were projects of 1 year, 2 years. And you understand you have to really show why you are committed with the career, because anyone can get a CV and fill it with stuff. Right now, it's so easy to just type on Twitter and get a group of people. It happens that say, hey, we're writing a systematic review on, I don't know, COVID in Thailand. And then anyone that wants to join, send the name, and it happens. We get a publication of 50 names on it, and it doesn't add that in your CV. So the same way that we think of fail step as a red flag, there are other red flags like not being productive, spending 3-4 years of your life, but not getting anything done. And I'm not saying this is easy. Publishing is not easy, but it's hard work. I mean, I had no knowledge before Ppcr and the lab about research. I learned everything there. And my first publication didn't come in 1 month. It came after like 8 months in the lab. But then things start rolling and coming, and you see that. And another good example is when you see the timeline that I was showing you about my life, something very important is that there were no holes on it. Life is not simple for anyone. Life happens all the time. We get sick, COVID happens, but there was not holes in my career because this really matters in the United States, right? You have to justify why there was a year that, I don't know, you took a sabbatical. This is not something, I mean, the more we evolve, this thing change, but we still don't understand why someone would take a 1-year sabbatical, because everyone here is focused, and all the applicants from the United States are focused on med school, residency right away. Here in the United States, doesn't exist like in South America, that are general practitioners. This is not a thing. You finish and then you specialize. So there's not such a thing of, I worked 1 year on this and then I took a rest. So I would say that an advice is to avoid gaps in your CV, fill them with something, do something. If you're taking the steps, justify that you're taking the steps like I did, because this really matters. So I think it's just an overall, there's not one answer to make you better or no, it's just to show your interest and your productivity throughout the time.
Thank you so much.
Then there are other questions. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Ricardo is asking you that your timeline is impressive. Can you talk more about how you explain your Ppcr experience in your area of application? I believe he might be, Ricardo, do you mean about how to state it in your CV, or in under which section would that go? Just to understand that. Yes, he said how to add it in your CV. How do you talk about your ERA CV? Where do you add the Ppcr program in there?
So it's part of like there is academic and learning activities. So it just goes into an extra step. It's like just extra experience. You right now, and this is something that you might not know, is because of the same problem that I was talking about, applicants with 50 publications on non-meaningful stuff, we were getting applicants that would fill out the file with, I don't know, 25 research experiences, and it was each was one single project. So this is what we're not looking for. So Ppcr and the lab was a way to involve everything. Is a training on research, and you're able, this is free typing. You're just gonna write. This is not like you selecting, you type. you did PPCR, and then you explain what you did on it. You learn about the statistics. You did this, you publish, you got involved in this project. This is the project of your group. You publish it, you presented it. So you have to tell the whole story. It's not just, I took a course and it's Harvard is the name, because that's what it looks, but you might get to an applicant that did not hear about PPCR before, right? Remember, they're in career, and this is something that I don't think I shown, but career, not everyone wants to be a clinician scientist or a clinician educator. There is a lot of clinicians that are not familiarized with research PPCR, and many of them are just clinician educators. So they are going to review your application and not know what was PPCR. So they're going to either Google or not really care unless you really put there an explanation what you did, what the program is composed of. You're free to write anything you want there, but now there is a limitation. You have 10 spots that you can fill with your thing. So you're not supposed to fill it with, I do one project on this, one project on this, one project on this. PPCR is a whole thing. The experience in the neuromodulation is one thing. And that in terms of putting it in the paper. But then in terms of what he added in my application was, I mean, just writing about my personal statement and showing how my life changed, how reshaped the way of my career. I mean, I had nothing before, and how taking the course and using it to the max to get so many publications, those things, and also things that are written in your letters of recommendations, right? When I was involved in PPCR, I was also working in the lab, and I was at the same time doing all this clinical experience with Dr. Maswi, Dr. Crandell, Dr. Lotfi. So it was all a big together of things that go into the application. So it just shows that you're not just filling the CV with things, but everything is going towards the same goal, that is becoming a clinician scientist. I think, I hope this answers your question.
Great, thank you, Fadi. Yes, and also other recommendation for the people when they're adding the ERAs, you, for example, if we're in the group project phase right now, or at the end, or when you get to the interviews, you can say, oh, I'm working in a group project that is actually a protocol, a randomized control protocol, and it's under peer review process if that is the case, or it's always in the copy editing process. If you get the interview in January, that's when we got most of the copy editing of the project. So that shows that you developed the design and now you're going to publish. That's also really important, right? That you are committed to move forward, not just in the program, but also that you're interested and you learn how to do a publication. That is really important here. And then another great question. I'm sorry, Fadi.
No, it was the same. The point that you were making is ERAS is a tedious application, but it's an open application. So you can actually describe what you mentioned. You can start with the title of the project, but you can say you develop every step of it, where you are at, where you plan to present it. There are spaces in ERAS to actually publish peer review papers, but also in preparation or submitted. So all these things, you can add them and show that they matter. But keep in mind, you start your application in September, you're right there, hey, I'm writing this and it's submitted. You're gonna be interviewed in December or January. So someone might ask you, hey, you publish it? Where is that? So you have to put things that make sense, because there's always someone that is gonna ask you. We really read the applications, we look into details, these things, and we prepare for the interview. So we want to know these are not lies. These are not things that you're just doing to match. Understand? We want to find these genuine candidates for this.
Yes, great. And I got some colleagues that were applying this year and past years, and they were asking, oh, so you did this program, tell me more about it. And they ask about PPCR, what do you do? What do you learn? And then they also ask them, oh, so if once you're here, what will you do as a research project? What research idea do you get? And that's the question that they get.
Exactly.
So you have to have something in mind of since you already started, right, and gain skills.
Exactly. And when you get interviewed in a program, there's not the same 5 people interviewing. It's a group of 20. So you're not going to interview by the same people. So I do remember in my case, it was always someone that was not part of the clinical work, either from basic research, because many of the interviewers didn't have much in-depth knowledge on research. And when they look at my CV, they would always bring someone from either basic research or more experience to be able to ask me and see if I was telling the truth, if all the things in my CV were really accurate. So people are gonna look for these things. But then it's easier because when you're telling the truth, this conversation flow easier. And with these people, you're going to start working during your residency program. So this will connect you in different ways and will put you apart from other applicants.
Yes, exactly. It will make a difference when you show that. And then we got a great question from Marta Leon. She's asking, hello, Dr. Velez. Thank you for taking the time. When you're referring on how to get a mentor, what is the best way to approach a person that you consider a good mentor? And what thing do you need to do as a mentee to be considered seriously? That's a great one.
That's a great question. Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of a mix. That's why it's such a good question, because it's a mix of luck and a mix of effort. So one of the things that I did is, as I show you in my timeline, I wanted to do neurology. I wanted to learn brain stimulation, right? So I went to Spain, and then I wanted to come here. So I purposely, I look for Professor Franny. I look everywhere, search neuromodulation. You have to find your topic, and you have to reach out to them. It was an email, and he replied, and then that's how you engage. But there is many people that go to places. I mean, we have observers here, we have research fellows. I had people that sees my CV and looks that I have some publications with non-invasive brain stimulation, and then they come and they email me and they write the word TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, and then they send me this long email, and then I have invited them to do observership. And when they come here, I see that they just Google it once. So that's just part to be taken seriously. The opportunities people are going to give them to you, because we want to help. People are here to help. There are mentors that this is a passion. Being a mentor is a passion. It's not just you don't gain much. Understand, it's not someone is paying you to be a mentor. You do it because you want to help someone. Or in my experience, so many people helped me, so I wanted to give back and help people. So I had experiences. A good example of this is I went to the ANA meeting while I was in the lab. I already had some publications. I already worked with Professor Franny for almost a year and a half. I was presenting an abstract in a conference, and they have these meetings of the meet the chairman. And I went and I approached one of the chairmen from a program, and I'll never forget his comments were very racist, and he told me he will never train someone from Latin America. So I would consider myself at that time a shy person. I say my wife pushed me a lot to go and ask, and then I came back with that answer. So it was hard for me to have that no, and such a rough no. But then it didn't stop me. Then you go and reach out to someone else, and then you meet a good mentor. So it's a little bit of luck, and it's about trying. So this is what I'm saying now with Twitter, with all these things, you can reach out to so many people, and it's a matter of luck. To someone that wants to help is gonna reply. We are very busy, but we have time. We have recently someone reached out to me to Twitter, asking me for opportunities on research here in US, and it was a person that wanted to do a neurology rotation. And then we reached out, we had some conversation, we interviewed her, and now she's a research coordinator working here at OU. So it was just a message to Twitter. So these are how you start building a relationship, but then the rest depends on showing that you really are committed, right? You get so many messages saying, hey, I have interest, but then let's plan together something. Why your interest, how we're gonna shape it into something real. So it's kind of like a trial of trying and error, and some things you're gonna succeed, some things you won't. But there's so many good people around everywhere. And one of the good options is to look into programs like what I'm telling you, the World Stroke Organization Program of Future Leaders is full of mentors that are doing this for free on their free time, trying to help the world by creating world leaders. So this is a free program. The application is very simple. And this is how I have met more and more people, and the same for the American Academy of Neurology. And if you don't want to do neurology, you want to do something else, there is for everything. So it's about trying. Don't be shy. If you get a no, or if you get a bad answer, someone will be there that will answer. Just reach out.
Great, Fadi. Yes, I agree with you. Also, I believe that showing commitment and passion for trying to learn. Of course, I also had the same experience. I won't say the institution, but I remember really well saying that my chief resident in US told me, "Oh, you come from a banana republic." He just didn't like it that I came from Nicaragua, and that was really terrible. I was also really shy. I'm always really polite. I just stay quiet. And in my mind, it's like, we are here, all of us come here, to look for opportunities and try to do our best. And at the end, those type of persons are the ones that are affected. So don't think about when a door closed or someone treat you bad, don't take it that way. Just keep doing your best. Show that you want to learn. Keep asking questions. Don't be shy to ask. Of course, wait for the proper moment. and then we also remember that you have your country flag on your back. They always ask you, where are you from? And then say, oh, I'm from Nicaragua, in this case, Fadi, Colombia. And it's like, remember, all that you do, that will project sadly for the other people. So you either come early, go back late, keep working, improving. What you don't know today, go and read it for tomorrow so you can be involved in the discussion better, ask better questions and so on. And if they see this, you mentors, people, they see this, they will even come and offer you something. Hey, well, we would like to work in this paper. Would you like to write a chapter? That's what we do in Ppcr with the TAs and students, right? We keep saying, oh, we got this idea. Or in the lab, Professor Fernie, every week, he creates a new project. Oh, what about we do a review? In this case, we have a great paper happening soon with one of the biggest collaborators right now. We've had a paper to review all the devices submitted and approved by the FDA. So going and review the methodology of these devices. So it was a great project that now have many collaborators, and so people just jump in. So they keep offering you. So show that you care, keep coming and studying. And also you can say, oh, I got this idea on how we can improve something. So show that you also want to not just learn from them, but you can give back to them. Oh, I got this recruitment idea. Imagine that the trial goes down, the recruitment rate goes down. How can you find those patients? And then you go and read better strategies to recruit patients, or they're working on a paper. Oh, let me help here. So show that. So be proactive. Don't be shy. Okay, be proactive and don't be shy.
Yes, and remember also, we are here, and I'm saying this group and the whole Ppcr group, we are not the norm. It's the majority in the United States and in the world is physicians that are not doing research. Researchers, it's a little group. So you're already apart from the big group. So having those questions, it's important. But when you reach out to someone, this is what you may not know, but we are looking for people like this. We are looking for interested, because I have already way too many physicians that are not interested in research. And I don't want to have the next greatest neurologist that only knows neurology. We're looking for people that wants to be involved and be more kind of like well-rounded. So already reaching out and looking, and remember, the mentor is not going to be the first person to reach out. One of my mentors ended up being the husband of one of the person that I shadowed for 2 years, right? So it's there, it's just reaching out, and people are looking to.
Exactly, because they also have many projects that they want to work on and give you the opportunity. Great. And then we got another question from Winston, who asked, and actually Winston is in the other talk right now, because we also have a meta-analysis talk happening that started at 6, so we're really late.
Sorry.
But I will pass the answer to him. I don't know if he's here or there. I see him in both sides, just like me. And he's asking, thank you for your talk and sharing your experience. Absolutely amazing. As an associate program director, do you find that UCMLE Step 2 scores has replaced Step 1 scores as a screening tool when you review a resident application? And do you use a number of years since graduation as another screening? If yes, to either, what scores of numbers of years do you find is a general use? Yeah. Another great question.
So this is a great question, but just to clarify, remember, I'm the associate program director of the fellowship, the vascular neurology fellowship. So it's a little bit different. We don't look for step scores anymore. You're already a neurologist, and we're just looking for now candidates to be in vascular neurologists. But the same way that I get involved with residency application, we don't really think the step 2 is replacing the step 1. It's just we're going away from the number. Because really step 1 already we had great residents with very bad step 1 scores. It does not reflect who you are as a physician, who you are as a researcher. Just tell you maybe you are more nervous on that day, or maybe that day you were sick. Remember, it's an 8-hour test. No one wants to go through that. So I think we're just going away. That we were seeing a trend of massive scores of 270s, 280s of people that were just focusing on the scores. And then at the moment of getting into residency, they were having more difficulties with the clinical part. So I think that was the goal. I cannot say because this was done by the ECFMG committee, but I think they're going away from the number and just making sure that you can pass or fail. And then going more to the other things that we show on the lecture about who you are as a person and what you're looking for, why you're involved on this. So that's regarding that. And regarding the number of years, that's a great question. I mean, it was one of my fears. I graduated in 2012. Then I worked in Colombia. I did the steps. Then I worked in the lab for about 3 years. So I applied in 2015, 16, I believe. So it was 4 or 5 years of graduating from med school. And then when you compare with, I mean, med students here that are applying in their 3rd and 4th year, you get scared, but it's not really a thing in most of the programs. There is some programs that use it as a cutoff, but it's hard to tell you. I receive interviews from many places. We tend to apply broadly because we don't know, so you apply as much program, but that's also expensive. So it's more about looking for those places that are IMG friendly, because where they are IMG friendly, they know they're not getting people that are out from med school right away. They are getting people that usually come and do these things, go into Ppcr, publish, get research, because we want to show the same here. It's here when you graduate, you are almost in, you are already in. It's very little the ones that don't end up matching into the residency program. So we need to excel somehow. The step is not an option anymore. So I don't think the time matters as long as that time was well invested, right? I had one of my PGY2s in the University of Chicago when I was a senior. He was, I would say, 45, 46 years old. He was a neurologist in Egypt already and trained for like 10, 15 years there, and then came to US because he won the green card lottery and needed to repeat the career. So he was a great person. So he matched with us, and this happens. It's all the time. You see them. So that I wouldn't put a year or a time, as long as that time in between is well spent and you show productivity.
Great, thank you, Fadi. And then let me see. The other question was, okay, Mariana, she was asking, I'm MNG from Mexico, I was applying to neurology. Did you explain your gap you're studying the steps in your personal statement, and how do you find that you were giving a hard time for this?
Okay, that's a good question. No, I did not explain that in my personal statement. Again, your personal statement is more about your goals. I know a lot of people tell you, hey, tell us when you suffer and show us how you overcame that suffering. So now the ERAS application has an empty hole for that. So if you want to talk about something that, I don't know, a failed step, a gap in your year, that's the place. There is actually a place about in the application about what was a problem you had and how you overcame it. And it's really very minimal words. So people don't want to read all in this personal statement that, oh, you took 2 years to do the steps, right? In my case, I did not take so long. I took like 8 months for all the steps, and I was enrolled in Kaplan. So I mostly just put it on the ERAS as an 8 months part of my training as in Kaplan Medical, and where I took the steps. And some, I don't really remember anyone asking me about the why you had that time in Kaplan. If someone asks me, I just say I was doing the steps, and people understand because we are not trained to do the steps elsewhere. So they know that we have somehow to do it. So there's this trend now that people stop med school, do a step, go back to med school. I don't know if that's helpful or not, because then you have to explain also the gap in between med school, but it's again the same one. You stop to do the steps. So it's nothing that it's worrisome. Maybe if you spend 6 years, 5 years, 4 years doing the steps, then you really have to explain a little bit of why it took so long, because people here are not used to the life. I'm gonna say it this way. That there are problems in life, that we get sick, that we have family situations. So you have to explain a little bit, hey, at that time I was sick, or did happen in my life, so that took me longer to take the steps. But this is not why people get mark or say, no, you're not gonna get, at least not in the programs that I've been. So I wouldn't worry, and I wouldn't be the focus of your personal statement. Your personal statement should be about where you're at now and where you want to be, why you want to be there, how you're gonna do it, something like that.
Great. Thank you, Fadi. And then let me see. Okay, no, Jelani is the same. He was talking about the fellowship, not the residency.
Mhm.
But she was asking about the step 3 for apply for residency.
Okay, so you don't need the step 3 to apply. The step 3, you have to take it if you want to stay in United States. So you can actually do it, I believe, until you are in the beginning of your PGY3, your third year of residency. So you have first and second year to do it. I did not do it when I was, if you see in my timeline, I didn't do it when I prepared the steps, because I just wanted to start already getting involved with Ppcr and the lab. So I did not have time when I got accepted by Professor Franklin. I just started right away, and I didn't want to commit my time to study, get a bad score, and then not do well in the lab. So I did it while I was in my first year of internship in internal medicine. And it actually was good because you see everything they ask you on step 3. So I was learning while training. So you don't need it. You just need 1, 2 CK. And now, if you did the CS before, you're good. If no, I think there are different pathways. There's a website from ECFMG that is either a proficiency test that shows that you speak English, or if your university has some collaboration with something here, then you are good. So there are ways, but the step 3 is just if you want to stay. You can come and do a fellowship here with the step 1 and 2 and return to your country and never need the step 3. But then I had a friend, close friend, that came here, did the fellowship in endovascular neurology in Boston. And then after finishing, he liked it so much. So he decided to take step 3. And now, after being already a neurosurgeon in Colombia and finishing an endovascular training in Boston, now he's doing residency in neurology to stay here. So it's just different ways. When he graduates, he's still gonna have valid fellowships. So the order doesn't really matter if you already been trained in a specialty elsewhere, but then you will have to repeat if you want to stay.
I don't see any other questions here. Let me see. No, just that, guys. Any other question, guys? You are also free to open your mic. Great.
Perfect. So
I still got a private question. They're asking, what happened if I applied to residency and I haven't matched for 2 years in a row? This could be related to my failing one of the steps. What would you recommend?
So I don't have an answer if this is related. I know that failing a step in some programs is marked as a kind of a red flag, and then they might not give you an opportunity to interview. So the big challenge is at the beginning is always to get that desired interview, right? But you only need one to match. So failing is not the end. It might be more difficult to get interviews. And the more you apply and you fail, it's just more time that you have to justify what you're doing in that time to change your application. Because you have to show, it doesn't matter that you did not match. We don't care about that. We care what happened a year ago, what you were at that time, and what you changed. And this last year I did this, I have published more papers, or I got involved in research. And this is a moment that my advice is that you have to do a little bit more networking, because I'm not sure about this case in particular, but I'm thinking that it's more of a problem of finding that interview because of a misstep. Then not so many programs will send the interviews because you have 400, 500 applicants. So some programs just don't invite anyone that has failed a step. So you have to find someone to help you get that interview. That's through collaboration, that's through calling someone, shadowing someone that inside of a program and showing that you were good, that the step is not what's defining your career. So then you get the interview, and then, but the moment that you get an interview, you forget about the steps. If you go to the interview, it means they already think you're good enough to be a candidate. So then that's where your other parts on your CV, and I think your letters of recommendation, your mentors have to play a big role on, I don't know, picking up the phone and saying, hey, this is a great candidate, fail a step, but it's okay, it's behind, it passed it already, and now it's been doing this, this, and this. So I have sometimes some people that reach out to me from my country or from South America that says, hey, I did not match, I failed a step, I did not match. And then when you know you didn't match is March, and the next application is September. It's very little gap in time to reapply and to change your application and your CV in that time. So unless you are constantly making it better, but then it's little time. So sometimes it's better to skip 1 year, focus on, I don't know, getting another postdoc research fellowship or continuing that, getting better letters, getting to know someone in a program that is going to help you get that interview or that is going to push you. We have residents in the past that did not match in several years, then they did 2 years of research fellowships, and then they get letters of recommendation from the program, from the chairman, from the program director, and then it's simple to match in a specific place. So it might hurt your opportunity to go to many interviews, but remember, you need one interview in order to match. One is enough, and then that's it. Then once you are in, you are in. So I would not think this is a limitation. I just think you have to think how you're going to reshape the rest of your career and not let that define you, but define how you approach the rest.
I have one question, and I'm sorry.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, sorry, amazing answer. Did someone else is talking? Is there any questions from guys? Anyone open the mic?
Yes, I opened the mic. I'm sorry.
Sure.
In regards to the letters of recommendation you were talking about just now, how old or like do the letters of recommendation have to be from the same year you're applying, like or can they be from like 2-3 years back?
Yeah, that's a great question. They don't have to be, but it's always better if you get an update letter, just because it shows that your letter, it was not just a situational event. That 2 years ago, I rotated with someone. That person, I rotated 1 month and gave me this letter. And then I'm going to use the same letter from 2 years ago, because it's just telling us something, right? We just have, I mean, half a day to know you in an interview, and we only have 12 pages or 20 pages of paper to know you. So the fact that you use a letter of recommendation from 2 years ago is just making you think why you couldn't reach out to this person and get for an update letter. It was that you just went there for those 2 months and ended there, or it makes programs wonder. Understand? I have professor training give me letters throughout my entire life for residency, for fellowship, for grant applications, for IRBs. Even today morning, he signed another of my letters. But it's always updated letters from current that talk about the things that we have done. So it's not as simple as that, because maybe you met someone 2 years ago and it's your clinical letter, but then try to reach out to that person, explain the situation, and tell them you have done this and this, because people understand that they met you 2 years ago and that you guys not been in touch all the time, but they know that you've been doing this, this, and this somewhere. And I'm pretty sure most of the people that gave you a letter before are willing to just update the date and add the new stuff, because that's what you want. You don't want something. My letters always says, hey, I met this person. Initially, my first letter from Professor Frank was 3 years. The letter from today was already almost 9 years. So this is what you want to see on a letter, especially now that we don't have steps, especially seeing there's a statistic that I showed you from the beginning that everyone that applies has 6, 7, 8 publications. So the letter tells a little bit more of the story. So it's not the end, but I think if you want to strengthen your opportunities, try to get an updated letter. And it's better a letter from someone that is not from neurology, that is not from your specialty, but it's more personal, more updated than going back to, there's all these online programs that you pay $5,000 and they guarantee you to get 3 letters from 3 neurologists. And then I've seen those letters and they are terrible. And you are $5,000 less. And the letter just says that you were on time and that you're energetic. And this is not what you want to read. You want to read, you did this, this, and this, and we've been doing it because time. You're matching someone for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. So we are more worried about matching a good person than a good doctor, because that's my job, is to make a good doctor, a good neurologist. But I want to have a good person that I can train. If I have someone that is not a good person that I can be trained, it doesn't matter all the training that you give them, it's not going to change much. So we want to find good persons willing to learn. And I mean, Ppcr, this, and the research initiative, the labs, all these things give you that opportunity, because they give you time to meet someone, time to publish with someone, time to collaborate, but also time to like be with this person, know them a little bit more outside from work. And this is personal things that go in those letters that really change the way that the readers kind of perceive the letter. I think there was another
Great,
question.
thank you. Yes, I just want to give a little input since we work on these letters. It's really easy for us. You just come back and say, hey, Alma, I'm applying to this. So, and people always some people is really nice and said, oh, this is the first letter that you gave me 3 years ago. So we just always ask, okay, can you send me your updated CV so we know what you've been working on? And then I ask the person, so explain me more about this, and we add that. And after Ppcr, the person joined the teaching assistant program, or they went to another research fellowship here, and their current research focus is on asthma and cystic fibrosis. I don't know. So we explain what they've been doing in the letter after us, trying to show the trajectory and the focus that they got, which is really important. And that's why personal letters are really important. So you always can go back to the person who wrote the letter, saying your previous letter, and then said, I'm attaching the draft here. You always help the writers by adding a draft about you. Of course, they always review and approve and change accordingly to what they know about you, but it's really okay to go back and do this. And then I got another question here. From Fernanda, she's asking, thank you, doctor. I'm taking the USMLE steps to apply for neurology, so this talk was very important. I would like to know, how can I stand out in a 4-week observership program? Any tips?
This is a good question, yeah. So one thing that I think you guys don't really know, and is the med students here in US, when they rotate in a program, they actually rotate with me for 1 week, or at the most 2 weeks. And it's the common thing, because this is how the med school is organized. They only have 1 month of neurology in the whole med school. And then they have opportunities to do some sub-Is and rotate with electives, right? But most of the time I get to meet someone 1-2 weeks and they already ask me for a letter, and they're not afraid. They ask, I want a strong letter. If you're willing to write me a strong letter, otherwise I don't want the letter. So when you go to these 4-week observership programs, it's already more time than many, but you just don't know. And then you just have to stand out by showing that you're different. We get, I mean, sometimes I have 7-8 med students, 5 sub-Is, so it's a large group. But I had recently a good example. There was a registered nurse. She was a registered nurse for 10 years. Then she got tired and wanted to do residency, went into med school, finished med school, and then went to do neurology. And she actually took a month of elective, and she would arrive early, but not just to sit. She would get the list of patients, make notes, know simple things, the patient's room, the diagnosis. You'll see when you're in this environment, you get many rotators, many people that are there that they don't want to be. They just have to be. Many of the med students that pass through neurology, they don't want to be neurology because they don't like neurology. They just have to do neurology. So it's not so difficult. You just have to show your interest and you have to speak up. I mean, I have people that have come and sat on a chair they come Saturdays and Sundays, but that doesn't matter if they never open their mouth and ask questions. You don't have to know. You're not supposed to know. If you know, it's a plus. I usually start teaching a lot of things on my first day. So on your fifth day, you grasp some of the things. So if you ask questions about things that we already talked, it shows that you're not just sitting there. And those are things that I can add in my letters of recommendation. You can also put talk to that person that is already accepting you for the observation. What else can we do? Do you do research? They say no. Is there anyone that does research in your department? Can I do something extra? I have this background on Ppcr and I can do this, and this. So when they write the letters, they will put these things there because, as Alma was saying, I mean, we get so many requests for letters from many people. So getting these, I don't know, checklists and points, tell me I did this, and this, and remember, I can write them in a letter easily. And so it's just showing your interest, your real interest, and it's not difficult. 4 weeks is a long time, but remember, the 4 weeks end, continue that relationship, continue exchanging emails, plan on something, find a case report, find something that the letter has to be more meaningful. We are doing this. I have to write, I met you this week. I met you here. You left the observership. You went back to your country. We kept in contact. We did this project. We are going to publish it. We're going to do an abstract. Things that are separate, not like you were there sitting for 2 months with me and you had interest and you arrived on time. So it's just little details that are possible to do.
Great. Thank you, Fadi. Amazing answer. And then we got another question from Angel. He's asking, what do you think about medical assistant or paid research position experience in neurology? Are letters from those doctors impactful in my residency application?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding well the question. Who is giving the letter? Is
he said that the ones who are given is the doctors who are
paying for the research position or the medical assistant?
Yes. So
so it's kind of like the same similar answer. You can have any title, any name, right? You can be a postdoc research fellow, you can be a medical assistant or a research coordinator. It doesn't matter the title, it matters what you do with it, right? Because when you get the title, you get access. As a medical assistant, you get access to the patients, you get access to clinical work. So it's what you do with it, is that you show that your skills are good. Then I assume this is going to be your clinically strong letter saying that you know how to treat patients, that you're good with it. So you have to be smart. You have to have a letter that shows that you know how the system works here. So these are ways to get them. Same, a paid research coordinator, it's great. But what are you doing with that research position? Is it just being there for a year and nothing, or you are actually publishing? Understand? I know that many of these paid research positions make you just collect data for someone else, and I don't know, someone else is the one publishing. So this is where you go and say, hey, I want to do more, because everyone wants help. We have the research coordinator position here. Some of them are unpaid, and most of them are filled with IMGs that wants to do residency here. So we had some of them that come and stay there and do help with the Excel, inputting the data for resident projects, and then they go away and they don't do anything. And we have others that have directly reached out to me and say, I am a research coordinator here. I have this role here, but I want to do some research project with you. Is there anything that we can do together? And then things come along the way, and then you are the one publishing, you are the one presenting the abstracts. So I don't know, I'm an IMG, so I tend to say that we show more interest because we know the challenges. So these are the things. When I met Dr. Crandell the first time, I was there in Spalding, which is Harvard affiliate, and I was there as a Colombian physician rotating with med students from Harvard and residents and from PM&R from Harvard and fellows from PM&R from Harvard. And then I just showed how my interest was bigger, how much I was seeing the patient, asking questions, looking into the literature about a case that we saw. And I think this is what caught the attention at that moment from Dr. Crandell and show my interest and why my letter was good, or at least they say was so good. So this is the things that you have to show. What you do with that opportunity when you get this position, then you have to do the most with them.
Yes, Fadi is right. This is really important how you show how you care and try to profit everything. Or you can even share, hey, I have data from my country or my hospital, a good project. Can you advise me on this, or have this idea? Do you recommend me to this? And you send a quick email. You can always reach out to people. I always recommend people because when they come back to me and if I don't know anyone, I can pediatrics is my pulmonary and of course neurology because of Professor Fernie, but if the one came for oncology, I don't have any colleagues or program directors that are a friend of mine for oncology. So okay, let's do emails and contact them. Hey, I like your lab. I see your work. Your research work is this and that. I'm interested in this topic. And then you describe yourself really quickly. Do a quickly simple email presenting yourself. Don't do long emails. These people is really busy. So one strong paragraph about you, your interest, and that you can come and be there. So you show that, and then and while you are, they give you the opportunity. Go and shine and do the best. As again, arrive first, leave after them. Don't you ever go before them. There is a saying that if you leave at 5, then you don't want that 5 sharp. You don't want to be in that lab or in that work. So, and as some INGs and all of the rest of the people that want to grow and do more, profit everything. Every time they ask, if you don't know how to do a review, like the other day, oh, I don't know how to do a review. That's why I didn't say yes. Hey, but you're going to learn. Like none of us came with the full meta-analysis chip in our mind. We don't know it. You're gonna learn until you do it. So try to do it. Also, don't come back to the PI and say, oh, I didn't know how to do it. Can you show me? First, try to do it. And look, professor, I tried to do this on my own. I found this step. What do you think? Any feedback? So don't come empty and ask, how do I do this again? No, try to learn. Just like we do in Ppcr, that we push you a little bit to try to develop things before coming. And then we review and, with everyone and the collaboration that we, methodology that you already know, but try to do something on your own before coming. That show that you care, right? And they will be proud. Oh, he tried and he showed, and the person came and so on. But yeah, I'm gonna stop right here. Oh, and it's just that most positions, research positions for IMGs are volunteers, right? Because of the visa. So J1 visa are volunteer, but of course, Americans can apply. If you go right now to Monster or any other place for work, there are many research coordinator positions there that are paid, but they don't sponsor visas. And then, of course, there are many policies, like those visas are 1-year basis, right? And if you volunteer, you have to try to get your funding and so on to live in that city. But there are really amazing places that also, for example, they hire you and they can also sponsor the MPH or something like that.
Exactly.
So you can find them. Okay.
Yeah. Now that I'm in the other side, before I never understood, but I know how difficult it is to get paid positions when you also require a visa. But the way that I see it is, in the last 3 years, the 3 last research coordinators that passed through here at the University of Oklahoma has matched into residency the next year. So this is the way we kind of advertise. This is a bridge, and it's a short bridge. Sometimes you take 3-4 years. I did almost 4 years, and sometimes you get 1 year or 2 years. So it's the what you do with it, what it matters. So it's difficulties, but we're all going through these difficulties, and then I can say that, it's worth it when you get to the other side. And then when you get to the other side, don't forget that there are so many needing
you can
help.
help. Yes, you can help. Exactly. Yeah.
You guys have my email, my Twitter, so feel free to reach out and contact me for any more questions on anything.
Thank you, Fadi. And you made more than almost 2 hours. I hope that can forgive me for this.
No, not a
background. And thank you for all your sharing your experience and your trajectory. This means a lot to us and all our students. And again, guys, we are gonna end this session. Then we're gonna prepare you and let you know for the next one next week. We're going to also start the Ppcr Journal Club, where we evaluate papers, so you can also practice on how to evaluate papers and critically analyze them, understand the limitations, bias, and so on, how to prevent them. That will start in 2 weeks. And have a nice night, everyone. Thank you, Fadi, again. Any final words to the group?
No, just I was there like many of you, and you already are in the right path with PPCR, with knowing Professor Fregni, and just use the most, keep collaborating, reach out to people, and then you'll make it. I mean, when you are there, it looks hard and difficult, and it's not an easy path. And obviously, don't forget about your life. I mean, this is where you're gonna find friends, collaborators. I found my wife, and it has been a different experience and everything with her support. So you'll find ways, and it's just there. It just effort gets rewarded later. So you will see. Just keep working hard and use this opportunity that PPCR and Professor Freini Alma provides you with this network and all these opportunities. So it's nice meeting you all, and I'm happy to be here. So don't worry about the time.
Great. Thank you, Fadi. Have a nice night, everyone. See you on Tuesday on class. And we'll see you also next week in the next sessions. Thank you once more, Fadi, Camila, and everyone connected. I see many of the PPCR alumni and also current students. I hope it was helpful, and I believe it was. It was a great talk. Thank you again, Fadi.
No problem. Nice meeting you all.